quick release. Oh, baby, and the foul. Woo. Offensive rebound for Watson. Oh,
32 seconds. Shot clock differential about 14 seconds. 3-point lead.
Who run shit like me? Top 5 basically. I still play for keeps. Ain't no fantasy. Hey.
Welcome back to episode 4 of Divine Providence. I am your host, Matthew Leb, along here with Mac. Mac, wow, we have a lot to talk about today.
Oh, yeah.
First, before we get into a bunch of stuff that we have to cover, I just want to say what a patriotic performance last night out of you, going right from the airport, TF Green, to Trinity after a weekend in Nashville and then to the game, obviously. That's just dedication, and that's the kind of dedication that we need out of Friar fans. And, that's how it is in Friartown. We're a dedicated group. So excited to talk some hoops today. But first and foremost, you were in Nashville. How was Nashville? I take it you had a pretty good time.
Yeah, it beat the shit out of me. So I made it known before I even went to Nashville, like, hey, Tuesday, I'm going from the airport to the game. Like, nothing else in between. I don't have time for other stuff. Not knowing how bad Nashville was just going to beat me down and piss on me, and it was a long weekend, but we made it, and
yeah,
the love of the game.
No, that's awesome. I love Nashville. It's a great city. Broadway is just an unbelievably good time. Where'd you spend most of your time? Like which bar?
I don't know which one was the newer one, Luke Combs or Morgan Wallen. One of them just recently opened, but spent a lot of time down in Morgan Wallen's. That was a good one. Jason Aldean's not bad. What else? Kid Rock. Kid Rock was pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
nice little mix of everything. Not as country as I would have expected, which is cool to kind of have the balance of, bouncing around and knowing what to expect a little bit.
For sure. Yeah. You go there and you do kind of think like, Nashville, everyone's like trying to break into the music scene, play country music. But realistically, like when you go out on Broadway, it's just mostly DJs and it's just a great crowd. It's just a great group of people to be around. A lot of fun. We found ourselves like always at Jason Aldean's, but that was last time I went was March of 2023, and Morgan Wallen's was not open yet. I don't think Luke Combs was open either. So like Aldean's was was kind of like the go-to. Yeah. We went to Kid Rock, that one, and then like there's a couple other ones. The Dierks Bentley was my favorite though, Whiskey Row.
Yes, that was another one. Yeah,
the top floor of that kind of like overlooks, like, or not overlooks, but it's like next to the Batman building. Just a great time. Great city, great time. But yeah, to go to the dunk after getting off a plane like that is really, really impressive. So shout out to you.
Thank you.
You did miss the Saturday game, so a lot happened on Saturday. That was the Green Bay game. Doug Gottlieb was in the house. Were you able to watch any of it or no?
Yeah. So I probably got to the hotel probably like a half hour before tip off. And like before anything, I was like, sitting down. I pulled up the game on my phone and stayed in the hotel room until the final buzzer. So was able to catch some of it. Didn't get the viewing experience I would have liked, but was able to catch the game for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's more dedication. You're missing time in Nashville to watch a non-conference game. You got to love that. So let's talk about that game. Obviously, we were hoping that we were going to see Bryce Hopkins. Again, all rumors, everything's kind of been a little weird about that situation, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Bryce didn't play. The first half was sketchy again. A sketchy first half. Second half, they really came into their own and started playing really well. And we had a little bit of an emergence of Ryan Mila. So Ryan Mila, Money Mila, we don't know what the nickname for him is going to be. I did reach out, haven't got an answer from him yet, but so I mean, you must be a Mila guy. I mean, you strike me as a big Mila guy.
Yeah. Is it because I like to I play the game the right way?
Yeah, you're high IQ guy.
Yeah, high IQ player. I like Mila. He's I'm sure no one was really expecting him to come onto the scene this early, crack rotational minutes, and give like good solid minutes. There was a stat that was going around. He's like top 5 in the country in rebound rate, which I'm not entirely sure what that measures. Just I guess maybe percentage of rebound opportunities you capitalize on.
Mm-hmm.
But to see him up there with like some of the big dogs in college basketball was pretty unreal. He's given good minutes. He's not someone you're going to have come into the game and expect to give you 20 a night, but he's given solid minutes and has definitely exceeded expectations so far, I'd say. Yeah,
no, I agree. The rebound rate thing, that would be a better question for Friar Stats. We're planning on, for those that don't know, Friar Stats is a really good Twitter account. Shout out to him, who kind of like, I don't know if you've heard of like Red Sox stats, but he has like a Substack where he, you can subscribe, read his stuff, but he's a stats guy, and like advanced stats and analytics, things like that. That's his, kind of bread and butter. So next week we're going to probably have him on, and we can maybe ask him, because I have no clue either. All I know is the eye test. Ryan Mila looks good. He moves. He, is sound offensively. He's not afraid. Like a lot of times you feel like a freshman coming in who was maybe kind of underlooked or not really highly touted out of high school may have a little fear, may not even want to put the ball on the floor, right? He's not afraid to do any of those things. He's not afraid to shoot. He's not afraid to dribble. He moves on offense. He's vocal out there. So, yeah, really excited about, what we saw from him. What else from the Saturday game? Any other takeaways?
So I will say, just going back to Mila for a second, during the UMass scrimmage, he looked kind of timid. I was almost not down on him, but kind of in the opinion of, he might be a work in progress, might take a little while for him to come on, just because of how timid he looked, with the ball or guarding in the UMass scrimmage. And then I'm beyond happy to be proved wrong about that. So I just wanted to mention, very bad take on me, thinking that Ryan Miller would be a work in progress, because he looks totally fine and like a clear Big East player right now. Another thing, New Jerseys. That was not announced at all, was it?
Yeah, that was a surprise. I didn't know about that at all. I was kind of like, whatever on them. I mean, they're fine. I didn't like, I wasn't obsessed with them. They've rolled out better ones, in the past. But that completely blindsided me, just walking into the Dunk, New Jerseys.
Yeah, no announcement. I kind of like them. They're like a mix of Purdue and the Brooklyn Nets, I'd say.
Yeah, first thing I thought was Nets, 100%. Also, it reminds me of the Joe Mazzulla comment about the lime green Celtics jerseys. And it's like, what do you like about them? Well, they say Friars on them, which
that's true. That's always a good thing.
That's all that matters. And that's really how this fan base is. And Steve Napolillo knows that. If we put out a product and it says Friars on it, people will buy it. People will get it. It's just how it works. This is a fan base that, will spend money. A lot of people have money to spend, and they want to spend it, and they want to give it to the program, which is, a great thing. I don't know about the sale of the jerseys. I don't know if they're going to sell those. I have noticed, though, just quick sidebar, the amp concessions or the gear that they sell inside the arena has taken a step up pretty significantly.
Okay.
There's a lot more options. You get like the kiosk outside, like the ticket office. Then there's a couple inside the arena. And honestly, like, good for them. It's much better than it has been years past, which can only help, the team and revenue. So keep doing that for sure.
Yeah, like you said, I think the fan base likes to spend money on Friars related things, which is a good problem to have. I'm not sure I don't have like a temperature check, I guess, on what other schools and fan bases are like as far as, fans pumping money into NIL for merchandise. But yeah, like you said, it seems like people love to put their money into Friars NIL, which is in the long run huge, especially in the way college sports is now.
We need it. Again, I'm not going to pretend to know other programs like you said, but I can say, like, just URI. I hardly ever see any URI basketball specific merch besides like the stuff you can buy at Kohl's. Again, I could be honestly totally wrong. So no, good for them. I mean, I hope that they continue to come out with new, fresh jerseys, things like that. But ultimately, there was a game that happened, and there was a first half that happened. And honestly, that first half was very frustrating to watch, once again. But the game as a whole, like, I felt okay about it. Central Connecticut, you left with a bad taste in your mouth. Hampton, you left with a really bad taste in your mouth. That one, I felt like there were some positives and there were some good things that they did. It just still didn't all come together completely. But on the contrary, last night, right, that it felt like it really did. So, yeah, I mean, I think that if you're going to take away anything, Saturday, not the best showing, but Tuesday, last night, a very good game for Kim.
So I will say I was very happy with the halftime adjustments in the Green Bay game. That kid Anthony Roy was going insane in that first half. And then I don't know if he put up a goose egg in the second half, but he was silent the rest of the way. I think Cardette was guarding him. Rich Barron was guarding him. He was silent in the second half. And then last night he's playing Southern Illinois, puts up 35, 40 points. So, I mean, the halftime adjustments, I think you got to tip your hat to Kim in that situation where it's like, hey, this guy's probably frying us. Let's throw some things at him he's probably not going to see for the rest of the year.
Yeah. The halftime adjustment, I mean, I feel like Kim does a pretty good job of not having an ego, like not maybe like sticking to one thing if it's detrimental to the team. That was one of my criticisms about Cooley. Although toward the end, like, Cooley made some really good halftime adjustments, to give him credit. We saw a lot of comebacks when he was the coach, but there also was an element with an ego there with Cooley where he would kind of like, all right, I don't want to ditch the game plan I came up with because I believe in it, right? Which I understand, but you have to, sometimes know when to just completely scrap it and move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. I think, and even last night in the game, I forget what the kid's name was, but there was a kid who had 13, 14 points in the first half, and then he was nowhere to be found in the second half. So I don't know if Kim's kind of just, like you said, just kind of like, whatever, we'll scrap it. We'll scrap the game plan at halftime and just kind of call an audible in the locker room. But that's 2 straight games where a kid was scoring at will in the first half, and then second half was a ghost.
Yeah. I mean, and while you're figuring out the rotations, it's like think you have to be able to be flexible with your game plan. I mean, we don't even know 100% who the starters are. We kind of have like a decent idea, especially after last night. But you have to be able to say, okay, this isn't working. Let's try this. And I think this year they've done that. Although like sometimes it doesn't always work out. But Saturday's game was a perfect example of that. Like ride the hot hand. Mila was playing well. Not really a conventional guy to get 20 minutes, but he did, and it worked out really well.
For sure. Ryan, I mean, we've talked about it before. Kim just going deep into the bench, feed the hot hand. Whoever's good is good. One thing I observed, and I don't know if it's necessarily a talent correlation, but like our garbage time squad, do we have the most fun garbage time squad in the country?
That's a great question. Yes. And then that's not even like you don't even last night we didn't even get fonts, right? So
yeah,
you have Eli, you have Nilovan, and you have obviously you have Fonts. Fonts didn't play last night, correct? No, I'm not.
I don't believe so. No.
Okay. Who was the third? I mean, see, like I thought Fernandez was kind of garbage time, right? More until he kind of figures out his role. But he played well last night. He hit 2 threes, had another open look, got open on another one. Passing was good. He got some good minutes last night. How many minutes did Fernandez play last night?
Let me pull that up. Because you're right, he did get some rotation minutes in the second half, and he looked good. Like he looked like the spot up shooter. Like Kim talked about wanting to get guys who can shoot in the portal. Obviously Fernandez he didn't get in the portal, but like spot up shooter, catch and shoot guy. Like if he was open, he was knocking him down.
Yeah,
the box score.
Fernandez had 8 minutes. Yeah, he had 8 minutes last night. He hit 2 threes, and then obviously you have Bonk. So I was forgetting about Bonk. How could I forget about Bonk?
That's the thing. Bonk is the X factor in that.
Yeah, he really is. And dude, I mean, like, talk about just like sheer happiness from everyone in the crowd and himself when he scored. Like the smile on his face. Like I was sitting behind the Delaware bench, and he like was running back on defense, so I had a really good like vantage point of that after he scored. He was like giggly about scoring.
Yeah.
Like that's like, sometimes you forget that it's a game, and sometimes you forget that like these are kids, and he's a 19, 20-year-old kid, and he just scored his first Big East, he just scored his first. Did he score when he got the minutes before? I don't think he might have had like free throws. I think that was his first actual field goal.
I believe so. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Stonehill he hit 2, and then didn't hit a shot. That was his first. Yeah. So that was his first field goal of his collegiate D1 career, which is awesome.
Like that's incredible. And for his reaction to be that is just so special. And I made a tweet. It's like, this is why we do it. Like this is like that embodies sports perfectly. Like seeing a kid happy after scoring a field goal is just freaking awesome. I love it.
Yeah. And then even once the buzzer rang, you saw the entire bench just mob him.
Yeah.
Like that was Oswin's jumping on top of him. Like that was a cool moment for sure.
For sure.
But even like him checking into the game, everyone's chanting bonk, bonk, bonk. And then Nil, who I freaking love Nil. Like he's just scrappy as all hell. Like every single time there's a 50-50 ball, he's just locked up with the dude on the other team. Like he's like a jump ball machine.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, him and Mila kind of have like a Hollywood, like they kind of look like they could be like if you had to assemble like a team of actors playing basketball, for a show.
100%.
Like they look like they would be in like maybe like a high school drama or like a college drama or something like that. Like,
Mhm.
you know, they're good ball players, but they don't necessarily look like ball players. You know, like
Yeah.
it's just they look like they're just high school kids. Like, and they kind of are. I mean, they're both freshmen. Like,
Yeah, they're probably
you know,
18, maybe.
yeah. But I was saying, I was like, these kids look like they could be, you know, like actors in a show.
Yeah,
It
like
is
a
funny.
little High School Musical, One Tree Hill action.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Exactly.
Love it.
But yeah, no, he's another hustle guy. Like I really, you know, I'm happy with what I've seen out of Nilovin, and Bonk I mean, like Eli contributed positively to a game that was close and gave good minutes in a game that was close. So it's like some of these guys are just like, you think they're just garbage time minutes, and then all of a sudden they're contributing to help get wins. So it's like
Mhm. And
that's just so unexpected.
I think this is the embodiment of the 13 dudes mantra that everyone was talking about. I think people kind of got lost in that and being like, oh, we have 13 dudes. We're going to be a top 5 team in the country. Like 13 dudes, I think the reasoning behind this was like, yeah, the guys that are going to get garbage minutes are also the guys that can pick up the slack in a tight game in the second half when you need a spark off the bench. Like it's not necessarily, hey, we're going to have 13 studs. It's like we're going to have 13 guys who want to go out there and win. Not all of them might play every night, but we're going to have 13 guys who want to go out and win a ball game.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it's reminiscent to, like, there was one game against Villanova that, you know, Cooley threw Ted Bancroft in, and it was like, you know, Bancroft at the time he was getting like minutes, but it was a lot of, you know, garbage time minutes and maybe like a quick spark on defense. And then he ended up playing like 40 minutes against Villanova because he was playing well, and he was just playing hard-nosed defense, and it was a good matchup. And they won the game on the road. It was a great game. And so, like, you don't know who's going to contribute and who's going to fit when the time is right and when your number's called on, to be able to have guys that can, you know, fill those roles is really, it's really useful, especially with in like a Big East grinding 20-game Big East season. You know, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, we got the depth to do it, and like I think it kind of got lost in translation while we were sweating games out against, you know, bottom of the barrel teams. But this is a team that can go deep into the bench, and I think even if the rotation cuts down to like 8 or 9 guys once Big East games start, like, you know, Kim can look at the back of the bench and be like, yo, take your warm-up off. Like, we need a spark, which I think is awesome. For
sure. No, I totally agree. Couldn't agree more. 13 dudes, and hopefully we get another dude coming pretty soon. Now, we talked about on the show last week, and I know a lot of people obviously, you know, probably want to hear us address this, which is the, you know, Bryce Hopkins playing allegations, which, listen, you know, I heard some things. I don't know if either one of two things happened. Either something changed between when I heard it and when it, you know, it actually, the game time took place, so Saturday, or it was completely erroneous and it just was just bad intel. Again, you know, because I don't care to be a scoops guy. I don't care to break news. I don't care to be the you know, the first dog at the bowl with that kind of stuff. And you know, we just do this for fun. You know, I don't. I wouldn't say something if I didn't think it was legit. I'm not just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. What I was told, I really thought was, you know, pretty solid information. It was wrong. Happens. I apologize if I got your hopes up about a possible return. Nonetheless, Bryce Hopkins is coming back. That is not a scoop. That's a fact. When he comes back, we don't know. We're hoping that it's, against Oklahoma. That's the next opportunity he'll have to come back. Some people think that Bryce has already kind of, for more or less, came back, but is not really playing against the scrub teams because, number one, doesn't really need to, and because he's playing against really good competition in practice. Kim said he did 5-on-5. He's done 3-on-3. He's done 1-on-1 with Kim English himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, hoping for Oklahoma, do you think that if he does come back against Oklahoma, my question to you, Mac, would be, do you think he'll be like full, no restriction, no leash? Or do you think there'll be like a little bit of like a, work him in?
I mean, I don't see how you can just, maybe I'm naive, but I don't see how you can just throw him out to the Wolves and be like, hey, you're going to go face, a solid SEC former Big 12 team as your first live minutes in 10 months. But then again, maybe they, like you said, he's been back. You don't want to chance anything against lower opponents. Like, he's good to go once the big dogs come in. So I don't know. I think our best chance is to win with him fully healthy, obviously, and not on a minutes restriction. But I just don't see how there can't be some sort of minutes restriction. Even if he does play next week, I don't expect him to play 30 minutes at all.
So I guess what I'm trying to figure out, and what no one seems to have an answer to, is how do you have like you said, how is there no minute restriction, right? Coming off an ACL injury, but also how do you tell a guy and tell a team all right, we're going to try to work Bryce Hopkins in to a game versus Oklahoma that we would really like to fucking win, excuse my language. I would really like to win that game. So I'm not trying to give 15 charity minutes to a guy that, is trying to just get his footing underneath him. Right. My kind of thinking is he's going to be 95% kind of unleashed when the time is right. And I honestly don't know if there's really going to be a kind of how we thought it was going to go down, where it's all right, Bryce is going to come in, he's going to play 5 to 10 minutes, then it's going to go to 20 minutes, then he's going to go to 30, and then it's going to be okay, he's got no restriction at this point after that. It might just be Bryce Hopkins is back, here he comes, he's coming off the bench, so he doesn't have to, start the game. But once he comes off the bench, Bryce Hopkins is back. It honestly seems like that's kind of their game plan a little bit. I don't know. It's all speculation at this point. Did you hear Kim's comments about Bryce, saying how seemed like he was ready, almost in for lack of a better term, almost basically him saying he was playing 5-on-5, seemed like he was good to go.
Yeah, that would give me the assumption that he would have been playing last night. Not that I think Kim's lying, but maybe they're just trying to save him for when the games really mean something, and you can throw your fastball and have Bryce play, a decent amount of time. It's all so weird. I know this, even with a lot of the injuries on the rest of the roster, Kim's been very cards close to your chest, not really showing your hand at all. And for better or for worse, maybe they'll throw Bryce out there for a full workload on Wednesday. Just so Oklahoma has no film. It could be a film thing, and it's a little gamesmanship. He's not going to say anything until he literally has to, and it's the last second before tip. So you really never know. They've done a good job of not showing their hand the last month or two with injuries.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this has kind of always been a program that has always been a little bit tight-lipped about certain things. This is, a little bit reminiscent to when we were having a situation with, two young guys, Brandon Austin, Rodney Bullock, some legal trouble. And it was always, they're going to play this game. They're going to play this game. Okay. One. And it was, Ed Cooley had the same answer every time. It was, status quo. That was the quote. Status quo. And it was very frustrating as a fan because you want answers, right? We're not entitled to know everything. We're not really entitled to know most things, but the fans are the ones that drive this program specifically. And we are entitled to some, answers. With this situation, though, it seems like there's multiple parties involved that are kind of making the decision. So Bryce has people in his corner that are looking out for him because he's a potential NBA prospect. The program has people in their corner, right, that are trying to do what's best for the program because we're trying to make the NCAA tournament. And sometimes when you have, multiple parties, there could be maybe a disagreement of what to do. I don't know if that's what's happening, but I could see that. I could see it.
I mean, like you said, I think the fan base has a million questions. I mean, I guess really just one question is Bryce going to play, and if so, when? So it'll be two questions. But I think my only hope is that, like, I'm okay with having zero answers whatsoever until Bryce plays, if I know there's a reasoning behind it. Like, if it's a gamesmanship thing and it's like, we don't want Oklahoma to have anything to work with, like, we're just going to throw them a curveball 30 minutes before tip, or we don't want BYU to have any film on them. We just want them to assume that, hey, you're getting the team that you saw the first 5 games of the season. Like, that's the only thing I think that would give me some sort of closure is not the right word, but I guess closure of, like, okay, this is why we haven't known for so long, is because when the time comes, it's, you're getting the sheet pulled out from under you the last second before tip if you're a BYU, if you're a Oklahoma, Arizona, whoever.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think that, there's a million theories. That's definitely one of them. Another theory is that if Bryce comes back against a lower level team and, is unlimited minutes and he doesn't play very well, then it might hurt his draft stock. I mean, Bryce has said time and time again, all summer interviews, things like that, that his goal is to be drafted. His goal is to make it to the NBA. And he takes a lot of motivation from NBA players and, Kim, who former NBA player. So it could be a situation where, he wants to just hit the ground running against good competition. And it would align with these first 5 games not being good competition. And now you play Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is very good competition. I don't know. And if Bryce comes back against Oklahoma and he's good and they win, my God. I mean, you're talking about just a situation where, we're ecstatic. But number 2 is now automatically Bryce Hopkins is, like, looked at as, like, the savior of this team. Not saying the team needed saving because they're 5-0, but the savior of this team, and he's automatically back on everyone's radar NBA wise.
Yeah. Also, I mean, even beating Oklahoma, especially if Bryce is there. If you beat Oklahoma, you're probably staring Arizona down the barrel. But more importantly, I think, especially just for resume building purposes, you're 40 minutes away from playing arguably the best team in the country, and Gonzaga on the other side of the bracket. Like, I'm just someone who gets their hopes up. I'm going to sound like an idiot maybe in a week or two, but like, just for resume building, like to get a crack at Gonzaga or something, like I'm counting so many eggs before they hatch. But like, this is a good field and a very good chance at building out your resume for March before you get into the teeth of the Big East. Like, I just don't see a world where Bryce doesn't play next week, personally.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't, then, like, in my opinion, panic kind of is it's. I don't want to say it's time to panic, because I still actually think that this team could kind of come together really well with some pieces that they have, and still possibly make the tournament with a very, very limited version of Bryce Hopkins. But if he doesn't play, then like there's going to be eventually a point where it's going to be like, okay, this is the day where if he doesn't play, like you're just full blown panicking at that point. And I mean, for me, I don't know if that's Atlantis. I would say it's either URI or BYU. So BYU is what, the third, URI is the seventh. If Bryce isn't playing at that point, you have DePaul and a Big East opponent, the 11th, right? You're panicking. Is he just not healthy? Is it going to take a lot more, rehab time? Is he going to play this year? There's no, I mean, this might be absolutely crazy, right? But there's been no guarantee that we'll see Bryce Hopkins, which is it's crazy. Yeah. I think he's playing. There's like a 99% chance he'll play this year, but there's been no guarantee. If he doesn't play by Paul, then that's a fair question.
Yeah, no, I agree. And this is the curse of having no answers and really nothing to go off of. You know what I mean? It's all conspiracy. It's all just speculation. And but I don't know. I texted you this when we found out Bryce wasn't playing the other night. Like, either we go through all of Atlantis and probably play 3 high major teams without Bryce Hopkins, which is scary enough as it is. Obviously, I think the team will be able to hold their own, but you're playing without essentially your star player. Some of the biggest non-conference games of your year, or he plays Atlantis and the dunk is, and this isn't as important, but the dunk and the fan base is robbed of that moment of him checking into the game. Either way, I think it's like, kind of shot of luck. More importantly, though, you would want him playing those 3 games in Atlantis against these high major teams. But I agree. I think there's really no guarantee like when we'll see him, and it's kind of scary to think about, like just what's ahead.
Yeah,
2 or 3 weeks.
No, yeah, I totally agree. The ceremony aspect of it will obviously be diminished. I don't think that like people underestimate the importance of that. If he's being like rushed because of the ceremony aspect of it, then that's like, I mean, that's borderline like a fireable thing,
Yeah,
but if
I totally agree.
If it's just about like timing, and he's going to come back either way, then I think that is a nice emotional boost for not the fans. I mean, who cares about the fans, right? It's an emotional boost for Bryce. Like he wants to hear that, and I think that's totally reasonable. So, you're right. It sucks. Like we won't get that unless it is against BYU, which I hope to God that it isn't. But if it is, I guess that's, maybe like a consolation prize. Real quick, just to kind of double back on Atlantis, we're going to preview. We're going to do a whole, preview about Atlantis next week. So we'll talk about it, talk about the matchups, talk about the teams, talk about the brackets. So we're not going to talk about that today. But like I said, hopefully we see Bryce for those games.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the beauty of it is there's a week between the game and when Atlanta starts. So that's a week. When you're at this phase in your, recovery, like a week is a long time to get right. He'll probably be maybe not full practice. No, I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say he'd be in full practice for the next week if playing in Atlantis is on the table.
Yeah, no, I agree. Which the week thing, like the whole week, another reason why I kind of thought that, either Saturday or Tuesday was perfect time to play. But again, it is what it is. Can't spend too much time talking about it because it's something where you could talk about nonstop. I mean, that's pretty much what this whole season has been about. Like if I went through my text messages, I would say I have talked about Bryce Hopkins more than I've talked about, literally any one singular thing in my life. So like with everyone, just people, just so many people. So you got to move on at some point and just say when he plays, he plays, and that's that. So
for sure.
We did have a situation today on the Twitter sphere with a very nasty individual. I don't really want to say his name because I don't really want to give him attention, but he's he made a tweet about Kim suggesting that he was not letting Bensley Joseph answer the question, whatever. Mac, I know you have some strong feelings about this, so how do you feel?
First off, I just want to introduce my friend. Matt, I don't think you've met my friend, Derek. So I didn't have time to draw any hair on him, but
I don't think you needed to. He doesn't have any.
Oh no? Okay. No, yeah, I just wanted to introduce you to my friend Derek before we got into the next segment. But yeah, how dumb. I don't want to get worked up about it, but like that's so tone deaf to if a coach goes to bat for a player. Like, and especially considering the question wasn't about Bensley Joseph, it was about the team's performance. Like, I think Kim had every right in that situation to, like I said, go to bat for his guy and kind of question, like, well, what do you mean by that? Hey, we're 5-0. I don't know if you checked, but no, I just think it was so tone deaf. Anyone who follows us at Divine Providence knows that we have journalistic standards. So I just wanted to rework the tweet, the infamous tweet from earlier today.
Beautiful.
Obviously, in this moment, PC basketball coach Kim English could have let Bensley Joseph answer a stupid question on what was a good night of hoops for the Friars. Instead, he jumped in for his point guard and made his feelings about ignoring external noise fairly obvious. I think Kim had every right to jump in that situation. Outside expectations don't dictate what goes on in the locker room and in practice. And it shouldn't in really any aspect of life, at your job, on a basketball team, this podcast, like outside noise shouldn't bother anyone. You shouldn't let it affect how you show up. So I commend Kim for going to bat for Bensley Joseph. Obviously, the way he spun it caught some fire, and
right.
I don't think there's a soul on the planet that liked the way he spun it.
Right, and that's the thing, and it's like whether we like it or not, and this might be a little dramatic, but when you play basketball here for the Friars and in the Big East, really almost any program in the Big East, you're playing in relatively a fishbowl. Like every move you make, everything you do is highly scrutinized, highly criticized, and people talk about it. People tweet about it. it's Kim was trying to protect Bensley from exactly what happened today with Kim. So the tweet that he made about Kim, he could have easily done the same thing about a player who is just trying to get his footing underneath him at a school and a city that really cares about basketball and is very critical of the team sometimes and very positive about the team as well. Like Bensley Joseph, he came from Miami. The questions he probably got and the pressers in Miami was, who do you think's starting a quarterback on Saturday? Like that, it's a football school. Like basketball is big there. Don't get me wrong, but like it's not this fishbowl element. If you say something in Miami that is stupid, right? No one's going to know. I mean, they'll forget about it the next day. You say something here that might rub the fan base the wrong way or might affect the players, the locker room. People are going to talk about it. And that's exactly what happened. But it happened to Kim, thankfully, because Kim's a coach and he can handle it, right?
Yeah.
I think Kim knows that guy is just a nasty, nasty troll and probably was just trying to protect him from a really just nasty situation. And, good for him.
Yeah. Shout out to Kim for jumping on the metaphorical grenade on that one.
Yeah.
Derek said it was a softball. And I don't think that was a softball question, Derek. Like you basically just asked the kid, like, hey, you guys have been playing like shit. What do you think? You think you played better tonight? Like, come on. There's like I think the way the question was posed by Derek was it was a lose-lose situation. It was either like, no, we didn't play better tonight, or yeah, we've been playing like shit. Like, I don't know. Like you said, the guy's just a troll, and Derek's a Rhode Island writer. So like to be able to try and, I don't know, like are you trying to get a quote that you can just like misconstrue and like I don't know, just paint the Friars or Bensley Joseph in a bad light? I don't know. I didn't like the way the question was asked, and I definitely don't like the way it was perceived, I guess, by Derek via Twitter after the fact. So I don't know, just and wrong on all fronts.
Totally agree. He is excuse me. Sorry, I almost had to sneeze. He is a URI. He is a URI alum. So I think that kind of just tells you most of what you need to know. Personally, I know a bunch of people that went to URI that are big PC fans. I think that he has this, kind of thing against PC. We all saw the picture last year and the video last year of him wearing the Georgetown gear at the dunk when PC was playing Georgetown. And, I mean, he's a troll. He's a troll. And, we've all done a little trolling in our day. But when you work for the Providence Journal, right, if you call that, what he does, covering high school basketball, you expect some level of unity, So.
Yeah, I mean, the trolling aspect I totally get. But I don't know, like if you're posing as a credentialed journalist, like I feel like trolling's kind of got to go out the window in that situation. Like if you're going to do your job, do it seriously. And totally understand in the media, I'm a Boston fan. I totally understand how there can be some media members who try to take things out of context and get stories out of them, and all that stuff. But it feels like friendly fire. Like you said, he's a URI guy, but it almost just felt like friendly fire. Like you're a Providence journalist for God's sake. Like that's a little kind of you're shitting where you eat, Derek. You're shitting where you eat.
Yeah. And we're not asking you to write puff pieces about the program, right? We're not asking you to, pump the Friars, right, all day. Be critical, right? Be as critical as you want. Write about the team if you feel like they deserve criticism, which I think it's the other thing is his question to Bensley wasn't even a terrible one. It was a fair question because there were some question marks the first, few games, and this game last night was needed, in my opinion, to an extent. I thought that was a fine question, but to then go on Twitter when all Kim was trying to do was just keep Bensley out of saying something, just premature or unnecessary. It was a low moot point and very just kind of childish, and he kind of baits PC fans into engaging with him. And then when he gets very negative engagement, someone said something very, very rude, which we won't repeat, about his kids, whatever, which we don't condone at all. But then, he quote tweets that, screenshots it, and then he wants to play the victim and say, this is who PC fans are, et cetera, et cetera. That's even worse. So now in one day, you've attacked Kim English for just trying to protect his players, and you've attacked the fan base as a whole, saying this is who PC fans are. And that's what actually gets me upset. I wasn't really all that cranked up about it. You want to criticize a college basketball coach who is a former NBA player and a very rich man. I think he'll be okay at the end of the day. I'm going to defend Kim always, but you want to attack the fan base over one comment after you baited them into rage and make us look bad. That's bullshit. That's low, and that's a loser move. And I think he's kind of a loser. Don't know the guy, don't care to know the guy, but that's a loser move.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Derek feels like he has little man syndrome. Because realistically, I when I first watched the video and the press conference, I tried to put myself in Derek's shoes, and I was like, if I was Derek, and I asked the question, and Kim had checked me like that, there's two types of people: the type of person who would wear it and be like, okay, well, maybe let me call an audible and kind of rework and maybe phrase that question in a different way, or just take it and be like, oh, I'm just going to run to Twitter and cry about it. There's two types of people. And I think Derek was looking for his 15 minutes of fame and said, oh, let me paint Kim English as his dickhead who doesn't trust his players to answer questions. That was the whole thing with me. I don't know. Wasn't a fan of it.
Yeah. And you know what? Every tweet toward him, everything that we say about him, he's kind of getting what he wants, and that's engagement, and that is popularity, and for people to know who he is, because he's a small time, covers high school basketball. Not to put anyone down for what they do. Hopefully he enjoys what he does, but you want to. What I also don't understand is if he actually could really help his career by being pro PC. I mean, you're not going to help your career here by being anti PC. So if it's a career move, then it's just foolish. If it's a loyalty thing, I'm a URI guy, I'm gonna bash PC, then all right, well then you just don't care about advancing your career necessarily in the basketball journalism space. That's fine, to each his own. But don't play the victim. Don't call out PC fans as a whole, make blanket statements like that after baiting us. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he was baiting all day. Like, it was quote tweet after quote tweet, like, look at this asshole, yada, yada, yada. Just when there were like rebuttals and being like, dude, you're in the wrong on this one. Like, that was a bad take. But yeah, I completely agree. Being pro PC would be great for a journalist career. Like, just given how active the fan base is on Twitter, like guys like Ian Steele come to mind. Brendan McGarrett, I believe, is another name. Guys like Kevin McNamara.
Like the two
guys
guys,
that like PC and actively call out the staff and players. Like, it's really not that hard, honestly. It's not that hard to stay on PCBC's good side, I'd imagine.
It's not. And like, you got like Jim Donaldson is another one that he's an annoying old man, who likes to kind of troll a little bit. He's retired though, so he's just mostly his Twitter account. But yeah, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just not going to do it.
It's not very hard to stay on the PC fan base's good side. Like, if you're a local journalist, like, there are plenty of guys. I just named a few. Like, they don't shit on PC. I don't think they're involved in any wars that aren't actually helping their career at all. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, the bar is very low. Like,
yeah.
And like you said, hold them accountable when they're playing poorly. Totally understand. But don't walk out of the media room, turn on your Twitter fingers, and try and paint the guy in a bad light because he checked you a little bit when you asked the question.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, look at us, right? I mean, we were wrong about Bryce Hopkins, and no one came after us, because we're the people like us, right? So we get a little leeway. Now, if we do that again, then it might be a different story. Now, if we lost that game, I feel like maybe it might have been a little different. People do like to blame people for losses. Like I said, I got blamed for the Villanova loss last year. It is what it is, so that's life. But Eric, sorry, Derek.
There we go.
He's got to be better. He's got to be better. And I mean, hey, I'm on this show. I'm not gonna, and I didn't on Twitter. I won't attack, his overall look or whatever he's got going on. Never go after someone's family that goes out saying those tweets were over the line. But yeah, you play with fire, you get burned. That's just kind of how it is.
100%.
So we got some questions, right?
Yes, sir. We'll load them up. We're coming up on an hour, so maybe a quick little rapid fire for each of them for both of us.
Yeah, for sure. This will be a little bit of a long one. Go over it a little bit. We got some good questions, but totally fun.
Let's do it. Is Oswin? This is from Infantry Friar. Is Oswin the greatest offensive weapon of all time? His field goal percentage this season is 92.9%. Numbers don't lie. I also don't think Anton Bonk has missed a shot in his entire D1 career. So we might have the two most efficient players in the history of the sport of basketball. Some are saying.
Some people are saying that we have the two best bigs ever. Shout out Randall Hankey, who actually did for a full season lead the NCAA in field goal percentage as a big man playing for the Providence College Friars. I believe that was 06-07 or 07-08. Shout out to Randall Hankey. But nonetheless, I saw a really funny tweet from Corey Floyd's uncle last night comparing Oswin to Patrick Ewing, which
Love it.
Is my favorite Friar comparison that we've gotten of all time. Hey, if Oswin is a 10th of the player that Patrick Ewing is, then we are in really, really good shape. I know this was obviously a joke question. Oswin looked awesome last night. He is going to be a really good player, in my opinion. He's still raw. He needs to figure a lot of things out. But, I loved what I saw out of him last night.
All right, so sticking with the big man conversation. This is from Dixie. After 5 games, who do y'all think will make a bigger impact this season? Kreese versus Oswin, discuss strengths and season outlook. So weirdly enough, like you said, Oswin's looked great so far. I think the narrative coming into the year was Oswin's raw. He's got a lot of potential, but he's not really like a polished player just yet. And Kreese was a little more polished. You kind of knew what you were getting out of him. I think that narrative's almost flip-flopped since the season started. I think the potential's there for Kreese, but I don't think he's there all the way yet. And I think Oswin, being a big body in the paint, grabbing boards, he jumps out of the gym for someone who's 7 feet tall, and he does what you need him to do. I think so far Oswin's had the safer floor, but I think the potential with Kreese is insane, and I'm still going to bang that drum.
Yeah, I think that's pretty agreeable. I think that Oswin, like, all things considered, worst case scenario, Oswin will be Oswin. Like, he's going to be a somewhat effective player who's raw. Worst case scenario with Kreese is we get the Kreese that we saw against Central Connecticut and earlier this year. But the best case scenario with Kreese is we get a really good player who can make a huge impact on offense and defense. I still cannot get over just his hands. I'm hoping it's just like a phase. But man, like, it's just like the ball, just catch it and hold it.
The optimist in me says he's showing flashes of a young Ed Croswell, where he looks a little lost from time to time, but like big body, strong dude. Definitely not jumping ship, but I think very comparable, because Croswell, I remember when Croswell was backing up Nate Watson, like, he'd roll off a screen and just like, it was the hands. It was aggravating to watch, but then, a year or two of development and he's one of the best bigs in the Big East.
Definitely. Yeah, that is a good point. Watson had similar, issues. We've also been spoiled with like some big men that have been like more, skilled. Like, I mean, just last year, Oduro, who also kind of started out like not great. Like there was a lot of question marks around Oduro at the beginning of the year. He's so sound with the ball and so skilled with the ball that you kind of take that for granted. You think back to other guys, Kadeem Bats, things like that, guys like that, just maybe not as physically dominant, but more skilled with the ball and have better hands. Kreese could be just a physical force, but obviously less of like less of the hand-eye, the hands, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
definitely a work in progress. That kind of leads into Coach Steve's question. So 2-parter. First of all, when do you believe the return will happen? And has your faith in Christ been has your faith in Christ been revived? He finally looked confident out there. So I guess just going back up the Kreese thing, my faith in Kreese has never wavered. I'm on that bandwagon. Listen, because when Kreese is an all Big East big in a couple years, I want it in writing. I want it known that I'm the dude who every single game, those first 5-6 games of his first season, gave him the benefit of the doubt. I am the Kreese DeSantico truther. It's never wavered. Give it time. So yeah, I have not lost faith in Kreese, but he did look good last night.
You are on record officially. Like, this is, there's been now 4 episodes where you're on record. So the Esendoko family is going to invite you out to France. If Kreist can put it all together, you're going to be you're going to be eating croissants in the summer with the Esendokos. So I mean, so I didn't necessarily lose faith in Kreist having a revival like he has. Like last night, he had a revival, but that's what you have to call it because the first 3.5, 4 games were rough for him. Last night he played great, so give him a lot of credit. And I always thought that there was plenty of time for him to figure it out. But what we saw the first few games was really rough, and he needed that last night. So I would say, to answer the question directly, yes, my faith has been revived, increased. There's still some question marks there, but I'm willing to say right now that he should start. For now, he should be the center. I believe, and kind of just go from there.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good. He looked physical. I'm not saying he looked, quick or super coordinated by any means, but he looked super physical and just bullied. I mean, he was on double watch. I'm sitting there. I'm pulling up CBS Sports app on my phone. I'm like, dude, is he about to have a double? Like, I'm not saying it was his coming out party, but he looked competent and he looked like he was taking his time after a rebound to like assess, where's this ball going? I'm not just going to, sail it over a dude's head. I'm not going to pass it to his feet. I'm not going to pass it to another guy. It looked like he was taking his time a little more, and it looks like he's starting to find his footing. The return, though, we obviously talked about this earlier. Do we want to make predictions?
I'm willing to make an official prediction. If you are, this isn't a prediction. This is no knowledge. This is no,
Yep.
Last time we had some sources, but this is no sources, just a prediction. But
yeah, just predictions. What are your thoughts?
Okay, I think he comes back against Oklahoma. I really do think he comes back against Oklahoma, and I think he plays like 25 minutes, almost like a normal game. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think he does come back against Oklahoma. I think Bryce himself wants to be back for that game. I think obviously the program selfishly wants him back for that game. I think, like you talked about all the parties involved. I think all the parties involved understand the significance of Battle for Atlantis. And I think it will be a point of emphasis, especially if he's ready to go. Like, this is an important game. This is an important invitational. I don't know if he'll play close to 30 minutes, but that might be a play by ear type thing. Like, best case scenario, the Friars are up 20 at halftime. Like, I don't know if they'll push him too much.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I'd say anywhere between 16 and 22 minutes. That's my range.
Okay,
I believe.
I like that. Yeah, if it's a blowout in either direction, then
For sure.
he's probably coming off the floor for the next game. And that's I think that's the bigger question. Honestly, is if we see Bryce in Atlantis, what's the structure look like? Is it going to be back-to-back games? Is he going to play back-to-back games? Because now you go from not playing in a year to playing back-to-back games. It's hard to imagine that, but I mean, if they're saying he's ready and he's ready to play, then he's ready to play. Like,
yeah,
when the Browns gave the ball to Nick Chubb, it wasn't like, they obviously weren't worried about him destroying his leg again. He's running the football in an NFL game. So, doing that twice versus playing back-to-back basketball games, I don't know, like, it's either, in my opinion, you're either ready or you're not ready. So,
yeah, I think, these 4, last episode you'd mentioned, like, even give me show and tell minutes if that's on the table. I don't think show and tell minutes with the next 4 games are even on the table. Like, that's not, like, if he's going to play, he's got to be 100% ready to go, because these games are very important against high major non-conference opponents. And then so PC Woog.
I think Woo, yeah.
Woog. Okay. All these questions have kind of segued into each other, which I think is awesome. So when B-Hop returns, what do you think is the best small ball lineup with him at the 5? What do you think?
Great question. If you're going to go with him at the 5, then I like the idea of playing Floyd and Cardette together. You know, last time I was kind of on the idea of maybe like Jabri being that, you know, that guy in the starting lineup or in a 5-man, right? But I think that if you're going to go small, I would say Pierre, Bensley, Cardette, Floyd Cardette, and Bryce, and you have 5 guys who can score at will, and it's not a terrible defensive lineup. I think Kim teaches defense well enough where maybe those guys aren't your 5 best defenders. Bensley's obviously great, but I think that you can overcome some of that with their preparedness on defense.
Yeah, I think I would say definitely the 2 guards, Pierre and Joseph. Cardette, who's come along the last couple of games, like he looks much more confident. I just think he's going to be, you know, if you have a big 3 or a core 4, it's you can't. I don't think halfway through the season you're going to be able to even have that conversation without Wesley Cardette. So Joseph, Pierre, Cardette, Hopkins, Floyd, I feel like is interchangeable for me. He looked great the other night, and he shot the ball well. But I think that that 5th spot in the lineup could be swapped out with a Rich Barron or, you know, you're playing small ball, so obviously it's probably going to be a lot of 5 out. You're probably going to want to look to shoot the ball a lot. Justin Fernandez looked good shooting last night. Like these wing guys who you can kind of sub in and out and kind of get a similar style of play from. I think it would be the 4 that I said: Cardette, Hopkins, Bensley, Pierre, and then whatever that 5th is. I like the idea of Floyd, 3-and-D guy. I like Rich Barron, 3-and-D guy. Justin Fernandez, if he can show some more, another 3-and-D guy. So yeah, I think that combination for sure.
Yeah, I like that. I like that too. Rich Barron, I thought he looked very comfortable last night. Looked very confident. Was able to kind of get his shot. Man, if you watched the Central Connecticut game and that game, you would think this is a completely different team. And it really goes to show just how true it is. It just takes some time to kind of mesh and play together. Delaware State isn't even like that terrible of a team. I mean, they're not good, but they had some okay players, you know, some decent players and some guys that had an okay game. And they played an okay first half as well. So Rich looked very comfortable. And if he can settle in and be himself, then they got just the depth is just nuts.
I had to remind myself the other day that Rich Barron's still a sophomore. I think obviously seeing what he showed last year on a team with a very short bench, like you would think, oh my God, like sky's the limit for Rich Barron. Like he's going to have a huge, sophomore jump, or he's going to have a huge jump from what he had last year. But like the fact that he's even still a sophomore is, there's obviously still a lot of room for Rich Barron to grow. And I was kind of taken back when it was like his role hasn't been what I had necessarily expected it to be so far this year, but still young. He's still got all the talent that you saw last year. But the fact that we get 3 years of Rich Barron, I'm fired up about. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, I love it.
This comes from Jack Brasfield. Would like to get your take on the defensive capabilities of all 3 bigs. Also, what happens if our guards don't penetrate? Focus on 3-pointers is concerning. I'll take that one, Leb.
Yeah, for sure. So first, for the defensive capabilities of the bigs, I think that they all possess defensive talent. Like, I think Kreist can rebound really well. I think he has a lot of potential to use his body, box out, grab a lot of boards that guys won't. He's 7 feet. Oswin, a great example of someone who has the potential to be an elite shot blocker in the Big East for 4 years, right? But defense is mostly about your brain. You could have all the ability and the physical capability to play defense, but it's mostly just about your head. Knowing where to be, knowing when to help, just understanding the game. I think, like I said, Kim does a really good job of teaching defense, and Kim was a big man. So I think that they'll be fine. Right now, though, I would probably rate the overall unit as like a C, maybe a C- on defense. As for the third, I think he's maybe talking about Bonk, right? All three bigs. I guess Bonk. He's talking about the 7-footers. If he's talking about the 7-footers, Bonk is pretty much. I mean, I was watching Bonk on defense. He rotates fine. I thought there was one time where he helped, and then he got called for a ticky-tack foul, which I thought was a terrible call. But it seems like he is learning. I think it's fine. But yeah, pretty much not much I could say about Bonk's defensive ability. I really don't know. Yeah. So, and then the second part of that question, and whenever your guards don't penetrate, I mean, you're never going to be able to spread the floor and open it up for 3-point shooting. This team relies significantly on the three, and I mean, you have wings. You have so many wings, and you can even throw Bryce Hopkins into that conversation of being kind of a wing scorer. You got Cardette, you got Floyd, you got Hopkins, you got Barron, you have Jabri. If your guards don't penetrate, you're never going to draw the attention to get them open, and that was a huge issue with the first 3 games. No one was moving, no one was penetrating. So yeah, you're not going to your whole game plan, which is 3-point shooting, is going to basically fall by the wayside.
As far as the bigs, I'll be quick. I think Bonk, obviously raw, hasn't played basketball for too long. He looks quick shuffling his feet though. Like there have been a couple of times he's out on the 3-point line, like staying with a guy. So he looks quicker than I had expected a 7-footer to move. Obviously things like the IQ and like where to be on defense, like that's all going to come with time. I got faith in Kim and the staff to fix that. Kreist and Oswin though, like I think yesterday kind of solidified that a bulk of the season, the 5 is going to be a 2-man rotation. Kreist and Oswin, I think, do fundamentally different things on defense. I think Oswin's a guy who can jump out of the gym. He's slim, like he's got bounce. Like I think he's going to be a guy where if a team has like a dominant guard who can kind of get in the paint, like just put up floaters mid-range, he's a guy who can come out of nowhere and kind of get his hands on a shot. A little more athletic. Whereas if a team has a dominant big man, I'd like to believe that Kreist is the guy to go to just because he's a brick shit house. Like it's going to be tough to move him in the post. So yeah, I think just you got like thunder and lightning and with those 2 bigs.
Definitely. Yeah.
Penetration, I think no Diddy. I think it looked good last night. The Wes, Bensley, JP, they're even Corey Floyd, like that. They were getting to the hoop more. They were attacking. And that was something I don't think we'd seen a lot of the first 4 games. But like you said, that leaves shooters open. And that needs to be a point of emphasis is dribble drive, kick it out if the guy's open. And they were the passing looked great, but like you need to penetrate to be able to generate open shots. And if you're going to shoot 33s a game, I don't know what the number
Right.
is. If you're going to take 33s a game, like you better hope a lot of them are open looks. And the only way to do that is to draw defenders away from the 3-point line. Like I said, the guards look good attacking the hoop last night. And I do think when Bryce comes back, like that's, I mean, like if that's that small ball lineup and let's say Bryce is in the low post, that's going to dominate or that's going to demand a lot of attention on defense. And that's going to leave a guy open. I'm not saying that's how it's going to go every damn possession, but Bryce Hopkins is going to demand a lot of defensive attention. So guys like Bensley Joseph or Corey Floyd or Jaden Pierre will have a lot more clear looks. And then if you're going to run and live and die by the three, like that's the way you got to do it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. Well said.
This is just a take from the Big John. I totally agree with this take. He said it pretty well. This is a top 15 team defensively in the country. JP, Benz, Corey Floyd, Cardette, Bryce, and Oswin will be very difficult to score on. I totally agree. It's a lot of guys that can switch, a lot of athletic guys, a lot of defensive-minded guys, like guys that probably take pride in defense more than scoring. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm on record. I think they could be a top 10 defensive team in the country. So I think this is a very good point.
Yeah, I've met Huh. He's a good guy. Shout out Huh. Shout out to Big John. Great friar. But I don't disagree at all. And I think that's something that we can probably get used to here. Like, Kim, just the way he preaches defense and the way he teaches defense. I wouldn't be surprised if you see that perennially, every year. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I think Kim just brings like a level of intensity where it's like you want to play defense type of thing. Obviously, he's going to go out and look for defensive. Like let's look at next year's class. Like Jameer Jones, I can tell you right now is going to be like just an athletic defensive wing. Like scoring capabilities, I'm not entirely sure about. I'm not sure what his game's like, but he's just a big body who's athletic as shit. Like that feels like the Kim English prototype that he's going to try and go out and get every year. And then finally, this is from Karen McGee. Karen said, you should do a segment where you create the best itinerary for a visiting fan for a weekend game.
Yeah.
Leb, what do you think are some must-sees or must-dos for a visiting fan?
Wow. First off, if you don't follow Karen, Mother of Two, on Twitter, what the hell are you doing? One of the best Twitter follows anywhere. So give her/him a follow. Yeah. So I mean, if you're coming to Providence to go to a game, and you're from, I don't know where this person's from. Say you're from Omaha, Nebraska, right? Or maybe you're from Indiana. Maybe you're a Butler fan coming from Indiana. Maybe you're from Georgetown and you want to be brave enough to make the trip to Providence. Well, I mean, there's a couple things you got to do. Number one is you have to go to Murphy's before the game. That's a guarantee. Or Trinity's a great spot. That's my number two. We've talked about this before. No need to beat a dead horse there. Murphy's before the game is a great play. As for what you need to do around Providence, honestly, you don't really need to do too much. If you're coming to New England and you live in a different part of the country, go to Boston. I'll be honest. I love Providence. I grew up. It's 10 minutes from Providence. But if you are coming to Providence to go to a Big East basketball game, which I think everyone should do if you like college basketball, and you want to spend days in Providence, you probably will be a little disappointed. Providence can be nice and it can be fun to go out right at night. But if you want to do things during the day and see things, yeah, take the hour train ride or whatever it is to Boston and enjoy your time up there. But yeah, Murphy's before the game, 100%. Get in the game. And then after the game, the bars around the game usually are all pretty packed, pretty full. And especially on a Big East game, you can have a really, really good time before and after a game in downtown Providence and, get some good food, get some good drinks, meet a lot of great people. And you'll find both me and Mac floating around, one of those places. So,
yeah, kind of like you said, I think you can, it's clear by seeing our fan base and how we operate. Drinking is what you do before a PC game. Like if you're coming, you're going to the bars. You're that plain and simple. You're coming for the tall boys if you're old enough. Personally, I have to go to a specific spot to be able to get a tall boy. Because if you're 25 or under, they pour your drinks into a cup. But it's pretty much just drinking. Like if you mentioned going to Boston, I would, if college basketball wasn't played in the winter, I'd say check out Newport. Newport could be a good time, a little day drinking session, and then maybe take the Ripta back into Providence. Who knows? But yeah, I totally agree. The itinerary is wake up, drink, go to the game, drink. If you're a visiting team, get smacked by the Friars, and then drink. So, yeah, pretty fitting. So, Karen, I hope that is as in depth as a itinerary as you would have liked.
Yeah, and if Karen does make the trip to Providence, obviously I know he or she will reach out, and we'll definitely. We'll talk a little more in depth. And if anyone needs any advice about that, you're always welcome to, give us a message. We'll be happy to help you out, tell you, where to stay, the hotels, things like that. Yeah, Chinatown out there. Shout out Chinatown out there. You got to hit that. Federal Hill, for food. I mean, that's a given. If you don't know about Federal Hill, you go there, get a nice Italian meal, some of the best Italian food in the entire world on Federal Hill. So, yeah, got to do that. Other than that, everything else, ship it up to Boston.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's you could spend a decent amount of time out there. There's a bunch of good food spots, whatever you're feeling down out there.
Yep.
Not just Chinatown. So, yeah, that shout out to Karen's pinned tweet, by the way. If you know, you know. This is our final question, or not a question, just a submission from friend of the program, Tommy Gufano, and he's looking forward to Atlantis. So this is kind of in the spirit of next week's episode where we preview Atlantis, just to get you guys a little fired up for what's to come.
Hey, what's going on? It's me, Tommy Gufano again, reporting live from my backyard in the hot tub, having a victory soak. Gotta be a little quiet. Wife's upstairs sleeping. She's gonna bitch if I'm too loud. What are you gonna do? That's married life. The Friars tonight rolled easily against Delaware State. Shouldn't have been on the fucking floor. I'm a little fucked up. What are you gonna do? Too much beers? That's what you do against a shitbag team. You first fucking beat them down into submission. That's what we did tonight. But anyway, we look on to Oklahoma. I'm ready. Everyone should be ready. Me and the lady gonna have a great time in the Bahamas. She's gonna get mad at me. I don't care because the Friars are playing. Oklahoma is so fucked. I'm saying we rolled that first game pretty easily. I'm going to say like 75 to like 62. They're not ready for the coastal life, dude. They're used to the farmland and shit. If this was on a farm, I'd be worried. This is in the fucking coast, baby. This is our fucking backyard. Let's rock this shit. Mindset, motherfucker. Let's go.
I mean, if you're not fired up now, you got to check your pulse.
Yeah, he should speak to the team before the game. We got to reach out to Kim and say, hey, Tommy's going to be in the Bahamas. He needs to give a pregame speech to the team to get them fired up because I mean I'm ready to run through a brick wall after hearing that.
100%. I'm very fired up for Atlantis, and obviously we're gonna look ahead to that next week, which like we talked about, big games, a lot of big games potentially on the schedule for us.
Definitely, it'll be fun. We got a whole Atlantis episode preview next week, and we'll talk about hopefully maybe have some more clarity on Bryce Hopkins playing or not. But hey, shout out to the students last night. They ended up showing up pretty well. That was great. Hockey game. There was a hockey game that kind of interrupted things a little bit. This is not an anti-PC hockey podcast. It's a PC basketball podcast, but I will root for PC hockey. I hope they do well. Tough loss last night. But yeah, shout out to the students. And yeah, we got anything else for tonight?
No, nothing. Just Derek and I are going to go out on the town and maybe find a good spot for some food. Maybe we'll go to Chinatown out there.
All right, man. Well, yeah. I saw your Chinatown order last time. People don't forget that, by the way. So you got to improve. You got to improve on that.
So was it the order or was it the time of the day? Because I know that was an issue.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. It wasn't the order. It was the time. It was it was like pre 11 a.m. I think.
Yeah, no, I think it was like 11 a.m. I was like driving into Boston for some convention, and I was like, all right, I better eat lunch now because I'm never gonna. And then my coworker's like, oh yeah, let's just go to Chinatown out there. I was like, cool, not realizing the repercussions.
Yeah. Hey, to each his own, man. I mean, I've done crazier stuff. I wouldn't have posted it on Twitter, I mean,
yeah.
Down on there.
It was a low feel moment. Yeah, low feel moment. Some things are better off unsaid.
That's all right, man. Other than that, yeah, we'll see you next week. And go Friars as usual.
See you guys.
All right.